In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to build a $100,000 per month wholesaling business without having to hire a massive team. This is going to be a full-length guide on how to build your team for your wholesaling business. And I'm going to show you the exact team structure that I've used to scale over 7 figures per year with only 6 people on my team. And this isn't going to be your basic or hire VA and scale sort of video. I'm going to be showing you exactly how to structure a lean, profitable team so that you can easily break through that $100,000 per month barrier without the overhead killing your margins. Let's get into it. So wholesaling is a cash flow business about how much you net at the end of each month. And I know wholesalers who are making $3 to $6 million per year when they're netting less than 20%. And I know other wholesalers who are doing 1 to 2 mil a year and they're netting more than 50%. So just choose the business that you want to do. And I'm going to show you exactly the breakdown on the things that you need to have. So with the Solo Empire, it's basically you doing all the sales and dispo, and you're netting the most amount here, right? So you're the owner, of course. You probably have one admin that is helping you. This is probably going to cost you anywhere from $1 to $2K per month. You're spending, around $3,000 to $10,000 a month in marketing. So maybe you're doing some cold calling, some outbound stuff, some inbound stuff, doing PPL leads, right? And you probably have a follow-up specialist or a setter who is helping you talk to these appointments and talking to people who want to sell to qualify these opportunities into your calendar. This is probably going to be costing you 1 to 2K a month in salary, and you usually are going to pay them 3 to 5% of your net profit, right? You're probably doing all the dispo yourself or working with an agent, so you get to save on this specific expense. And then for your finance, you probably have a bookkeeper that is helping you. So probably will be anywhere between $300 to $1K, depending on the company that you are working with. But here, you're making anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000, and your profit margin, is probably going to be between 65% to 80% because you're the one that is doing a lot of the work. So you basically have a high paying job here, right? You're probably doing 1 to 3 deals. If your average deal size is 15K, that's more or less what it stands, but it just depends on the market that you're in. And adding all of this up, you're probably going to be in the 3 to K in expenses. So if you are making 30K per month to 50K a month to 80K per month, you are still netting a good amount of money because you are doing most of the work. But here is you have long hours, you don't delegate because you do everything, and usually you can move fast because you're the one who's in charge of everything. Staying stuck in this model probably going to be, you're going to feel the burnout within a couple of months. So doing all of this probably going to cost you 10 to 15K per month. But as long as you net what you want to net, that's totally fine. I know a lot of people that crush with this, which would then take us into the following model, which is the strategic model. And this model I really like because you still are the one in charge. You still have your executive assistant, but now you have more marketing channels. You're investing more money on marketing. You probably now have salespeople that help you out. So you're getting a lot of your time back. Maybe you already delegated your dispo to dispo manager. You still have the same finance person, and you are still having your setter to set up appointments to your closers. So here, I would say the revenue per month falls anywhere between probably like 50K to 100K, depending on the market that you're in, and you're doing 3 to 6 deals per month, and your expenses are going to be a little bit higher here, right? So here you're probably spending a little bit more in marketing. You're spending K plus, maybe all the way to K per month. And then here, your acquisitions manager, usually you can have people on commission only at 10%. Now, some people are against this because they say that if people are commission only, they don't really value their job that much because they're always hustling, and real estate takes a long time before you close the deals. So basically you want to have people that can consistently close deals, right? So what we want is what we do. How we pay our team is with the salespeople, we give them a 2K salary per month as long as they are getting 4 to 6 deals per month, right? And then we pay them 7% of our net profit. So if our average deal size is 20K, that'll equal around $1,200 in commission. So on here, if they are performing and you're getting 4 to 6 deals and your closer does really well, this is a 8 to 10K role, right? but a salesperson should be giving you a 10x on whatever you pay them, right? So if you have this person and if they're closing you around 80K, if you pay them this, I mean, you still have a lot of your time back. So that works very well. Here for your dispo, we're probably going to be still paying them between 1.5K to 2K as a base. And then the commission for dispo sits anywhere between 3 to 7% as well. So that would equal an additional, K to K in commissions, right? So if your average deal size it's 20K and you're paying around 15% in commission, so 20%, you're still netting a good amount. Now, a lot of your expenses is going to be, like I said, the marketing and the team. And then for the bookkeeper, still between, that's still $300 range to 750 range, depending if you have a CTA or like a full-on process. But on here, the total you're probably going to be at K to around K. This is a little bit on the higher side if it's 50. So just be mindful of that, because if after it's all said and done, you are closing, between 80K to 120, you have these expenses, you can still net around probably like 35% to 50%, depending on how lean you are. I do like this model a lot because you can still be involved, but only focus on the things that make you the most amount of money. And like I said, if you're netting 30 to 60, 70K per month, that's pretty good. Net equals good. Okay. Which then your main role is leadership, managing a small team, having scorecards for your team to make sure they're held accountable, that you're hiring the proper people, you're training them, that you basically are focusing a lot on the marketing, make sure that stuff is converting over here to make sure that you don't waste any opportunities. And here you need to be really good at delegating. Your cash flow management becomes very important because it's all about timing. You now have a higher overhead and you got to be sure that you can still pay the team and pay your marketing so that you consistently are getting deals, right? So after here, you graduate into the Freedom Builder. Now, like I said, if you are in this seat, you're probably doing, like 1.5 to 3 mil plus a year. Of course, it's you, CEO, you still have your assistant. You probably now have, 4 channels. You're spending probably 20 to 80K in marketing here. You now have 2 to 3 closers. Now you have 1 to 3 setters. So this is probably going to cost you K here. And then this is probably going to cost you 8K in salaries, but they're doing way more revenue, right? And then you usually have your dispo manager, maybe you have a TC in-house that is charging you per transaction. It's anywhere between, if you do this through a third party, it'll be anywhere from $300 way down all the way up to $600 per transaction. And then you can probably have a TC admin. Here you can do like a VA that's helping your manager with tasks. And this can be fairly cheap. I would say around 750 to 1K per month. You still have your bookkeeper and all of this, right? So here, that's when you get into the big boys numbers where you are basically making way more revenue between 100K to 200K per month. You are closing 6 to 10 deals per month and your overhead can be way higher, right? It just depends on how much money you are actually making here, right? Now you have a business that runs without you, and you probably just need it at level 10 meetings where you basically check on where we're at for the month, for the quarter, and the revenue. And then you are only needed on giving the team feedback, giving them the resources and everything that they need in order to crush. Now here, sales management is important. You probably have a sales manager that's keeping your team accountable, you're reviewing calls, you're planning with the team, making sure that everyone is on track. And here, your leadership is going to be way more important than the other modules because now you have leveled up, you hiring A plus players that are basically crushing. And then you are doing cash flow management, cash flow forecasting, financial planning, hiring those managers, not just like doers. And here it's very important that you have the vision plus mission because now you are a big buyer in your market. You do a lot of deals and you basically want to remove bottlenecks from the team. And then you basically run weekly KPIs making sure that everyone is basically doing their job here, right? Now, each of these models are really good. It just depends where you want to take it. But this is more so kind of like the math that it requires. I do really like this Freedom Builder. I think this is where we're at. I'm spending probably 4 to 5 hours a week. I'm just in charge of the marketing, making sure I manage the team, train them, give them the resources. And with our marketing, we do pretty well because they get a ton of appointments and leads because we own our own inbound channel. So everything that we get is hot and ready to sell. But yeah, here you can just choose the one that you are trying to see and you know exactly how much it's going to cost you. So, like I said, Freedom Builder, 40 to 100K in expenses. You're making 100 to 200K in revenue, still netting, 30 to 50%. Freedom Builder, here where we're at between the 35% to 50% net. I like this model. If you can net 50%, if you're making 100 grand, you're netting 50K. I like that pretty much. And then the Freedom Builder is where a lot of people stay stuck here. But just know that what it takes to graduate from one to the other, it's going to come down to more people and probably like more marketing and you becoming better at leadership and training your team. And as you scale, just keep in mind, it's all about how much money you net. For me, I don't want to overcomplicate the business. It's all about how much money I want to net at the end of each month. And for us, we are in the 100 to 150K per month range. I like that. I feel like I'm enjoying that profit. But coming this 2026, we do want to scale that a little bit further. Now, you've seen the models on what it takes to scale, but now we want to have a goal, right? So let's say that your monthly goal is to make $100,000 per month, right? And your average deal size is $17,000. We need to reverse engineer what it takes to get there and hold the team accountable. So if your goal is to get 100K and your average profit per deal is $17,000, you need to know what your success rate. So usually it'll fall anywhere between the 50% to 80% depending on deal volume, meaning that if you have your leads per deal, you know that you need 25 leads to get one contract. Well, that means that you would need around 226 leads on a monthly basis in order to achieve that. Now, in terms of cost and marketing spend, you need to know your cost per leads in order to reverse engineer how much marketing you need in order to spend, right? So for us, we have a $40 average cost per deal, and we are spending less than $10,000 to hit this number. So you just need to do the numbers based on your situation and whatever your goal is. But basically, if you want to reverse engineer the goal, basically you need to divide the goal by your average deal size, multiply by the success rate. That way you know exactly how many deals need to close and how many contracts you need to look up because you know that some are going to fall through depending on your success rate. And as long as you know your leads per deal, you're able to see if your team is hitting that goal. Because if they're not, they may be sales issue when it comes to the team. Maybe you're not setting the proper expectations, and maybe they're not asking the right questions with the seller. So you got to be able to hold the team accountable and check on a weekly basis where the numbers are at. When it comes to your sales team's goals, the appointments that they went on, the offers that they give out to the sellers, because a red flag, you'll be able to notice that if your offer to contract ratio is more than 4 offers to a contract. So you want to keep checking that, because if we basically kind of go back into our thingy right here, the most important thing and use of your time in any of these is going to be accountability, right? And the most important goals here and the core roles that you are going to have is probably going to be the setters and the closers, right? Because if the numbers are not in par to what your goal is, then you know exactly what to look for, right? So if they are not in the one contract for offers, then we know something is off with our sales process. So now we need to review calls and see if they set up the proper expectations with the seller. They answer their questions. They address the non-committal language. Did they ask for the motivation 4, 5, 6 times about what those next steps would look like if they decided to sell? Did we actually find the pain and how we can solve it with our offer? And it's very important with the sales team. They usually need to be reminded more than they need to be told, right? A lot of the times they already know what they need to do. Sometimes they forget. So we need to train them daily to make sure that they're performing. And that way you don't miss out on deals, because if you miss out on deals and your conversions are off, that means that your ROI is going to be affected and you're going to spend way more money to make the money that you want to make. So you got to keep a close check on these people to make sure that everything is closing. Now, when it comes to dispo, here's very important that your manager is always building new relationships. Building relationships. Because if we get new buyers that we know that they want to buy, it's way easier to look up these properties and sell them. And that's going to help with our cash conversion cycle. So for me, I like people that are almost the same as salespeople. If they have had a customer service job, they tend to be really good. Like anyone that works at Best Buy or like phone sales, they tend to be very good because they already know they've been trained, they've been onboarded previously in other jobs. As long as you do the same thing and you give them the KPIs and the roles, what they need to do, they're going to crush. So you already know more or less how much these people are going to cost you. When it comes to TC, there's a couple different services that you can use. Like I said, they're like third party, so you pay them by transaction. And there's a ton that you can choose from. For us, we have someone in our team internally that knows how to do it, and we pay her like $300 a transaction, and that does very well. Now, when it comes to attracting these people in your hiring process, what you need to do in each of the stages is you need to define your hiring process, of course, right? And that starts with step one. You need to have your core values. Now, I know you may be thinking, oh, this is tacky, but basically, what are your actual values? What do you value? What is a non-negotiable? Because you want to attract people that have the same perspective as you in order for them to crush, right? And you need to list what are the core values. And a good exercise to do this is look for 2 to 4 people that you look up to and let me know why you look up after them, right? And what you're often going to find is those traits have similarities across all of them, right? Maybe it's integrity. Maybe you value your parents, that they work very hard. So then a core value would be driven, right? Someone that is always looking to help. Then would be empathy. You can just adopt your own core values. And the reason why they're important is because you need to let the team know who you are, why we're doing this, what's the mission, how do we do things? Because if they're not a core value fit, then you need to fire them and hire somebody else, right? So step 2, going to be posting to hire. Now I like to use my Instagram whenever we're hiring salespeople or referrals, but basically we want to give them a description of what the job entails, the hours. It's a non-negotiable, the hours that they have to work, and they need to have some sort of customer service experience. I don't care so much if they already had like sales experience, because with our sales process and our onboarding process, we can coach them up on what they need to do. But you can use stuff like Indeed, Wise Hire, stuff like that. And I would just ask your network if they know someone, because if people like you, they're probably going to work for you. And if you have friends that know that they crush, they probably have other friends that are going to crush as well, right? So when it comes to step 3, interviewing, you want to have first like a qualifier, right? Where they can submit their information and maybe you give them like a task. And if they don't do it, well, that gets them dequalified. Or if they are like still in college, I mean, they can't work your hours, so that wouldn't be a good fit. But our process is first they submit kind of like a resume, and then we ask them to submit a voice note on how they would handle an objection, or kind of like how they would talk to a seller. But basically here, what we want to see is like, okay, are they a core value fit? That's the most important thing. And then 2, are they coachable? And 3, are they responsible? Because with those 3 things, we're able to groom people up to become the employee that we wanted to be. And with our onboarding and training. Now, your step 4 is going to come down to your onboarding and training. Now, if you have people that left you, it's because you probably didn't train them properly or give them the right tools in order for them to succeed. So for us, they get videos on who is our ideal seller, our ideal customer profile, who are we working with, how do we help them, all that stuff. And then we go into the seller psychology. That way they understand exactly who our ideal avatar is and how they go about making the decision, so that whenever they plug our sales process, they know exactly why. So they go over everything with our scripts and questions that we ask the seller. And then we do role play to make sure that, they sound good on the phone. But our onboarding process probably takes like a full 7 to 10 days, depending on how quick they're moving, because we wanted to complete all these things before they go and jump on the phones to talk to these people. But basically, want to give them a blueprint on what we're doing, give them context, and then give them actionable steps on what they need to take, right? And then we want to set up the proper expectations, right? You need to have 30, 60, and 90 days expectations, because if they're not hitting that, then they probably need to go. And now, within the first 30 days, we wanted to get at least 2 contracts or 50K in projected revenue. By day 60, we wanted to be hitting 2 to 4 deals, or between 30 to 60K. And then 90 days in, they should be getting 4 to 6 plus deals per month, or around 50K a month, right? And if they're not hitting this, we need to do a training and a plan on how to help them get there. And here, what we do is weekly KPIs to make sure that everyone is hitting their goals, the sales team, the dispo, and we know exactly what we need to do. We still do one-on-ones with the whole team where we review calls, where we go over their numbers, their offers, if they're hitting the goal. And we do this on a weekly basis. And this is super important because we need to be able to do that. And like I said, the team meetings are super important. So we have a once a week weekly meeting where we go over all the numbers with the company, where we're going, what we're grateful for, the quarter, planning for all that stuff. So there you have it. That is exactly how to build a $100,000 per month team without a massive overhead. Now, everything that I covered here was high level structure and roles. But the quick question is, how do you actually scale to $100,000 per month consistently? Because having the right team is only one piece of the puzzle. That is why I created a completely free course breaking down our entire system from lead gen to sales to dispo that takes you from wherever you're at to consistent $100,000 per month months. Click on the screen at the end of the video. And if you want to work with me directly to implement this into your business, click on the first link in the description down below to book your call. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.